in the competition. It's very, very tough. This is 9th place is POV's Roggy Trooper, and I think right in front of them is Vidil and Reason. They'll have a chance to usurp the points. Actually, so well set up. So many mats. Whiplash available as well. No chonkers, but they'll be able to move fast enough.
This is real nice. Real nice. You see them making use of that boost as well to push themselves in zone past the teams. There were a couple of teams positioned in some elevated spots who maybe would have stopped them if they were on foot. Would have stopped them if they were on foot. But as they boost their way. So these guys now will position themselves well in the zone on their journey to trying to make it towards that end game.
Okay. Is there a team that has like no points or something? This is the 19th POV at 106. Like, what?
Well, there is a team with no points. I told you, bro. Marine?
No, I'm just saying like in the game right now. Obviously there's you know, teams that are struggling, but I swear every single player on the map right now is fighting still and has a chance. I see 30th and 32nd now. So they're definitely on. I look for those teams, specifically 11-2, because they can cause the most damage. They're still here to play consistently. They're looking for the absolute pop-off, right? We saw 30th to 6th place with Floki and Clement, right? These teams aren't going to be playing the most orthodox ways. They might start pushing boxes even faster. They're very dangerous and should still be kept track of, at least on, you know, a few of the adventures we'll be watching in this last game.
100%. Even a place that don't get top 8, they're playing for series points, right? And so,
true.
You know, there's only 2 qualifiers, right? You know, you want to make sure you are high up on that series point leaderboards. Otherwise, you make it a very, very difficult task going into tomorrow's qualifying game. So, really and truly, everybody in this lobby has something incredible to play for. But you're right, there is an element of less pressure for those teams who maybe are a bit lower down, where the decision making becomes a bit more loose.
Yep. And right now, for one of the teams, Putrick and Queasy, only ones right now who kind of rolled in and are kind of kings of FNCS in general when it comes to duos. They have a VR on both seasons, on both sides.
Oh, wow.
And they've been bullied too the entire time. So.
Queasy less so bullied, Queasy.
Yeah. We'll see though. It's just the first 5 games so far. This will be the 6th.
They come off.
Queasy's had his rough times as well, though, too, right? Like, especially the trio season. Sometimes those guys were in tough spots.
Yeah, but I feel like Queasy's really evolved into, you know, one of the powerhouses of the region.
Oh, hold up.
His knowledge, his ideology around the game, playing for height. You always expect to see them up there. Sorry, and when they're up there, they don't play around. So. Again, definitely a team that I want to see in the FNCS finals. Thomas and Tayson, another team I want to see there. And you can see their position in the zone, which is nice. Again. But will they have the end game that we've been wanting them to have all day long?
Oh, man. That was crazy. I was watching Thomas shoot at Queasy for a little bit. Usually, it's teamwork. It's side by side, hand in hand, looking to move in certain spaces. Now, they're in the same spaces, but they're shooting at each other. Tough to watch as a fan, you know, of both.
Yeah, man. Their union in trios was a beautiful thing to see. It worked really well for both sides, like he said, on opposing teams. And 68 below, isn't it?
No. Give it a second. Oh, wow, it's actually updated and it is 68 below. Wow, there's no scammaz, there's no fake out.
Oh,
Psych.
No, there is
That's
the fake
the wrong
out.
number.
Yeah.
I was waiting for it too. That's not fair, man.
It's the hope that gets you, man. It's the hope that gets you.
111 above. Is everyone above on stream right now? Once again, this seems too good to be true. Every team we're watching on the line, every team above Surge as well. This endgame is about to pop. Oh, looking at Bino taking an extra shot a little bit off the top. 102, him and Joe, we've seen kind of just their escapades when they roll in. But not much after the fact, really. Not their entire process is how they move from point A to point B. The same thing with Senna and Ray. Had lots of cool replay highlights, lots of cool moments in the end game, but how do they get there, especially under this pressure? 10 players need to go down. There's 71 damage above. That can dwindle quickly.
Yeah, these guys have been impressive today, but one of their biggest problems is that they've been a jack of all trades and a master of none. Decent early game, decent mid game, decent end game. But this has to be the game where their end game goes from decent to excellent if they want to retain their spot sitting right on that 8th place slot.
And then from 71 to 17, now down to 5 below. Might be a perfect temperature to go skating, but right now these guys want to just maybe more so swim, heat up towards the top. 49 above now. This is just, I feel like I'm watching a high school drama show. It's too much for me to handle. Too many twists. Too much back and forth. Get consistent. 104 above. Senna finds one final shot before they actually move. Spider-Man Gauntlets going in early. Lots of damage taken too. You have to be careful. The damage you take might be a team who's right beside you. Might make you actually go down in number as well. It's so disastrous. But Senna keeps it moving. Another Gauntlet. Another one used as well. Down to 7. Huge. Because every one of these is so vital in the endgame.
Yeah, you can see that Senna did a really good job of scouting, understanding when was the right time to actually take that when teams wouldn't be looking at them. You can see they're really playing for keeps, taking everything as carefully as they can. Top left of your screen, you can see Creasy and Hen posturing for height. You know that's where they want to be once first moving pulls. And Trippin and Zrogi, who we've talked so highly of, another team that needs to hold on to their place in this game. Let's see what they were able to do earlier though. Some nice eliminations, capitalizing on desperate teams on that zone line. Oh, it's brilliant.
So good, and now they fly by. 459 damage above, 114 points. Those elims will push them all the way up into 6th place. What a nice wall to put down too. Just absolutely amazing. And now we're in the 6th zone. 5 seconds before every storyline clashes inside the air. The majority of the lobby pulling zone. No one really in a bad spot, but this is the north side. This is where the mountains thrive. And we have a lot of terrain to cover. Tripper and Zrogi will get spicy, get hot, and stay on the move to keep their dreams alive. It's all about the top 8.
Yeah, let's not beat around the bush here. You don't want to get caught out. You don't want to choke in this final game, especially when you look like you're in such a great position. Stenner and Rayed staggering now, letting players get ahead of them as they take some shots because they know they got the web shooters to get ahead when needed. And that's what exactly they will do. Need to be careful though that they don't run into any other teams. You can see the builds around Stenner aren't his. You got to be careful, son. You don't want to run into a sticky situation as we've seen in previous games. Reno and Jodo on the bottom of your screen, they've actually went for height and they've taken it. One of the first opportunities they've had to do so. And what a time to do it when they are sitting in 10th looking to try and get into the top 8. And if they're going to do it from any position, it will be high ground.
Absolutely, but they'll have to take out the top POV right now. Stenna and Rayed still holding down 8th place overall, 115 points. They're 6 ahead of Vino on the bottom right. Our pocket pick right now, Thomas and Tayson. They're trying for big things, and they actually go for the high ground take. They're 7 below, 27 actually. Storm Surge, 105 from Thomas, though, to put them back above, and they're doing this while fighting for height. Where's Tayson? He's on the same layer now. Splash is thrown down. There's still Surge all the way down below. A big Spider-Man dive, but the webs won't hit anything on the wall. They actually go splat. Thomas then goes up straight for another big take. The other high ground still shooting forward. He doesn't even care. 97 points is up against Rifle and Mariah. Tayson slightly behind him. They're still in 15th place overall, challenging the 1st place holders of the lobby, and they don't have the fuel to get the job done.
Yeah, the 1st place team sitting up above on height. That's where they want to be to close things out. Thomas and Tayson, they committed just too many materials to that height take, and so now we can see the desperation will start to kick in. Tayson searching, hungry for eliminations on the back of the zone, but he still maybe has his eyes set on height. They still have some Spider-Man web shooter charges left, and so they will look up for height. Mariah is not safe. Thomas, though, needs to be careful. They've damaged him a bit. He's down to 16 HP, but he has time to get his shields up. This is everything for this team right now. Tayson just above him. They need to stay together if they have any hope of pushing their way on in. Joe was forced down as Vino goes as well, and so Thomas and Tayson now. Tayson actually going down. Anas will be the one to take him him out. And so Thomas has to do it all alone if there's any single hope.
Absolute gridlock. It's Stena and Rayed who are holding down 8th place, getting Elims, still surviving. It causes people to get put into a crunch. Joe's there with a big shot. It's just a 34, and the follow-up's not there either. At the same time, Joe's and Thomas' dreams ended for now in this qualifier, and we tune into the deal. 7th place overall, still holding down the line. Can he survive for as long as possible? The solo play, it's always extravagant inside the same box. He's just rat-a-tat-it down, and his chance is solidified at 126, 130 for Tripper and Doe. He's still pushing the envelope forward. It's not over yet.
No, Matt Stowe, he's going to have to be dropped to one build by his teammates. Not going to cut the mustard whatsoever, but where they spot some players with them Stinger SMGs, anything is possible. And Pablo and Swag, the Flames boys, somehow taking height. They're in 11th. This game is huge for them. We've seen so many different teams taking height, but these guys seem to be the final ones to do it, and that's what matters the most. They need to be the ones who close it out if they have any hope. Pablo reloading that SMG. He knows how much these eliminations will need in terms of their point threshold. 11th place is not going to be enough, and so he's going to go and take that fight. He knows he has to do everything in his power, and he's going to force that player down now. Needs to be careful, doesn't want to be too overzealous. These final moments here.
11th, 1st, 2nd, and 15th, all in the fray still. Noah Riley has a chance. Pablo is looking for something, but he needs to get a majority of these eliminations. If anything, the Victory Royale. Andy finally down. Noah finds Queasy on the bottom side. Still up in 11th so far. They need these eliminations. Big pump shot on the right side. He's looking for a little bit more. 2 elims only for him right now. 7 total for the squad. A nice 60 damage shot from Pablo. Switch over to the left. Look at low ground. Can't find much. Rifla does get chomped out. They're up towards just 10th place. Is it going to be enough? They need that win. The final drop. A few edits just away from possible qualification and glory. 10th overall for now. If they qualified, that is the big question. But they did get the VR overall. Tripper and Zragi were there too. They solidified their spot, it looks like, from their perspective, just getting elim after elim, staying inside the feed the entire time, staying active in that endgame too. What a nail-biting game 6 to close off EU.
It came down to the wire, Shio, and honestly, a lot of these teams now will be refreshing these leaderboards, trying to figure out where it is they came. Honestly though, the Flames boy from out the top drawer really pulling back that comeback there, and we will have to wait and find out whether job though to close out that game. Shio, it's been an absolute pleasure being able to break it all down with you. Flames, Pablo and Swag will close things out in game 6 of qualifier 1. But guys, you ain't got to go too far to see more and more Fortnite. There is plenty more up this weekend as well. Thank you very much for joining me, Shai. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Absolutely. We have a lot more at the desk in just a bit. Thanks for watching. They'll break down exactly what happened in these 6 awesome games.
6 awesome games down. And of course, getting to hang out with so much. We do appreciate you as well, who will be breaking it all down. My goodness, I believe we just saw a qualifying run there, Reese, from Pablo and Swag. I mean, good. Literally every time. I feel like a broken record. I'm trying to find ways to change how I say this, but it always comes down to game number 6, right? It's always in that final game where just for some duos, they know this is it. Like, if I want to make it in the finals and I want people to respect us as a duo, we need to show up right now. And for Pablo and Swag, that's exactly what they put on full display for us today.
Yeah, we'll see once we get the qualified teams, we'll let you know exactly what actually ended up happening, who ended up doing what, but they absolutely fragged out. And this is the second game they managed to frag out. They got 9 eliminations total, using that Spider-Man's web shooter to go up for height. The final game of the tournament, you need to qualify. You got to make the plays that win those games, right? And they managed to pop off, like I said, with 9 eliminations at the same time. The Victory Royale, a huge game for them. You've got to think this has put them into the qualification.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, that's a huge game, and these guys were sort of down in the dumpsters, you know. They were contested all day together by Lazen, and you know, they did win out the majority of the time, and the last game to do it, man, you gotta have veins of ice. That is ridiculous. But another team that I want to mention as well, unfortunately this game we saw Thomas and Tayson going down very early on. You know, they're just not themselves today, unfortunately. I mean, if we're taking a look at the statistics, Thomas and Tayson, the lowest average eliminations in the top 20 before this game, and you know, for them, absolute frag-heavy duo, some of the best fighters in the game. Thomas HD's incredible aim we saw there in the mid-game. I don't know what this guy is on, but that AR tracking was ridiculous, and not getting enough eliminations today is just, that's the bane of them.
Yeah, I mean, quite literally zero this game, as we mentioned, right at the end, trying to do their best. This game, they were repeatedly, you could just see every single time they're looking back, they're looking up, right? Their focus is up onto the high ground. They were almost tunnel visioned on that, and in the last 2 games in particular, that was what obviously was their downfall. So I don't think that they will have qualified when we end up looking at the full teams who have, but I'm excited to see the guys who have.
Well, let's take a look. This is it. We're going to see the standings. Remember, top 8 auto-qualify, and we'll go right into finals. Everyone else will have to play for qualifier number 2. We take a look. Badil and Reason do squeak by. Look at the tiebreaker there, right? That victory royale making the difference. Refs guard and scram. Now, don't forget, they still earned series points. And coming in 9th is essentially like a first place when you kind of think about it in the grand scheme of things. So coming into next qualifier, they're going to be looking very, very strong. But Reese, you kind of talked about it before going into this game. Rifle and Marine, they just were doing so well all 6 games. And now kind of going into finals saying, like, look, across these games, we held number 1 spot. You don't want to land near us. You don't want to go head-to-head with us. If we end up going toe-to-toe, we will walk away the winners.
No, they got spawned every single game, and we saw the confidence in them going for high ground in that final game. They were unbelievably happy with it. Like, they knew they went, like, they were going for that first place tournament slot with that high ground retake, and obviously they ended up in 3rd there. 2nd, Hen and Queasy absolutely popping off as well. I'm sure they will be absolutely ecstatic about that. Congratulations to all top 8 teams.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to hurt a little bit there for the 19th team. I mean, it is basically guaranteed to make yourself towards semifinals and the heats, but getting that finals in this is just so easy. All of that pressure is unloaded on you. And unfortunately, just not making it there for those guys. But another duo I want to mention is Raze and Phoenix. I mean, these guys, I think, are very unknown. They haven't had many final performances, and if they did make finals, they sort of struggled in them. But, the absolute aggression coming out of them, I know that personally, how aggressive these guys are, because I know they're banned from every single practice server because of that aggression. But, that's good enough for a finals lobby, so it's good enough for here.
There you go, and Pablo and Swag did make it in that 7th place, right? So once again, it just comes down to that last game, man. Sometimes these duos, they just know it's time to put our foot on the gas. We want to qualify, and we will. You do love to see it. Before we say goodbye, let's take a quick little peek here at our predictions, see how we did overall. Sometimes we just do really well. Sometimes, man, we do well. Sometimes we don't, Reese.
Nope. I mean, you were in 12th. Like, Aquanoa, 12th, not bad at all. I'll take the 2nd for myself. It's a little bit lower than the standard I would normally go for. But you know what? It's day 1. I'm feeling rusty.
Yeah, I mean, Cammy and Teak, they were so close, and I know I'm mentioning that again, but they were so consistent today, but those last 2 games just not picking it up. Obviously getting pushed over by Trippin from Coney Crossroads as well. Just an unfortunate, but they did make it to the final, so that's good enough for me.
Yeah, and of course, obviously, Shy and Levin going with Tayson and Thomas HD. A strong pick. We have talked a couple times about them in those last 2 games in particular. And honestly, for, Tayson, I am not surprised. I kind of said this at the top of the show. These guys show up when it matters, right? With semifinals to qualify to finals as well. Historically, in some of these seasons, Tayson has not been great when it comes to the qualifiers. Chapter 2, Season 7 was a particular great example when then they came into the semifinals, absolutely destroyed, winning 2 of the 6 games from the biggest performances that we've ever seen, and then went on to place 3rd in the finals. So right now, just because they've not managed to do super well and qualify through in qualifier number 1 does not mean we're not going to see something dominant when it comes to the end.
And it usually pertains, I think, to draw spot as well. I mean, these guys, they always contest the biggest and the best draw spots on the map. And today it was Covert Canyon. But with this many teams landing there, it's a little bit tough to alpha those draw spots. And that's basically the name of the game for Tayson. He cares about that drop because he doesn't care about heats. He doesn't care about qualifying to the finals because he's that confident. He knows he's going to make it there regardless because he's the absolute best sometimes. And all he cares about is just getting that draw spot on Conf Grand Finals. And, it's going to work out in the end, hopefully for him.
I mean, hopefully, right? I mean, yeah. I think there's still quite a bit of names that we didn't even see participate today, right? People did not even make it into round number 3, and now that we've kind of pulled 8 away from the pool, we've said, okay, you guys have earned yourselves a spot on the bus to finals. That means in next qualifier 2 on Sunday, don't forget, we might have a different subset of players. We might have players like the team that came in 9th, they might come right back, right? Refsguard and Scram, they missed that qual, but they might come back and say, like, okay, we're here now, and that top 8 ain't here no more. We're free to kind of operate. This also means new POIs are open up, drop spots are open up. There's still so much more that can unfold over 2 qualifiers, and of course, we can't forget semifinals the week after that. So there's still quite a bit to play for here.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually think, just quietly going back for a second there, we're talking about teams that should worry about that drop spot. Joe and Vino, obviously we saw the battle going back and forth between Dropmanton. They ended up placing 15th, and in that final game, we saw that they could have almost had a run at it, but they also went down 15th in the match. So 15th in the match, 15th over on the leaderboard. They're contesting them off spawn, and if that, again, they're uncontested in that qualifier 2 on Sunday, and they managed to make it through to the finals, it's like, now you got a battle on your hands that's going week after week, and again, that drop spot may not be secure for the finals.
Yeah, and I mean, speaking of contested spots as well, I mean, DKS and Bad Cypher coming out of triple contested tilted towers. I mean, this is probably Benji and Savage's worst nightmare for the entire season. Already guaranteed the slot in the finals. That's going to hurt a little bit. So, I mean, maybe we'll see some spice in this next week, and we'll see some other teams in tilted qualify as well. But for sure, it's going to be contested in finals 100%.
Absolutely. There's still so much untapped potential as well here in Chapter 3 Season 1, right? I still think there's so much that we have yet to discover. And a lot of there's things that these duels are kind of keeping up their sleeve, right? They're waiting to say there's strategies, things we have to implement, but we want to wait until semifinals. We want to wait until either that or finals until we start breaking out some of these very secret little strategies they may have. Before we say goodbye, let's take a look at our broadcast schedule. If you enjoyed what you saw today, don't forget, we have other regions as well. NA East, NA West, later on in the day. Today specifically, remember, we're not back tomorrow, but we're back on Sunday, February 20th. A similar time, rather, not the same time, a little bit earlier on in the day for some of you. And then, of course, next weekend, you've got semifinals. That'll be 3 straight days of Fortnite action, all culminating in the following week after that. 2 weeks from today, March 5th and 6th, we'll have the finals. Acts of Champions on the line, $1.3 million here in Europe. So make sure you stick around, because there's going to be crazy FNCS, to say the least. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. Don't forget, NA East will be up later on in the day. Different crew, so make sure you guys stop by, say hello to them, and cheer on some of your favorite players. Legends Landing, we'll see you guys on Sunday. And as always, we'll see all of you up on that battle bus.
Bye.
Chapter 3 has arrived, and with it comes an entirely new map to explore. There are some old returning favorites like Tilted Towers, Shifty Shafts, and Greasy Groves. There's also a ton of new POIs like Sleepy Sounds, Condo Canyon, and the Daily Bugle. Now, everyone knows the POIs, but what about the characteristics of the map, and what should we expect throughout the competitive season for Chapter 3 Season 1? Let's dive into some of the new changes and effects it has on competitive play. The first change that will seriously impact the way that competitive games are played out is the large abundance of environmental heals that are now available on the map. Previously, in Chapter 2, a lot of the slurp barrels were mainly located at slurpy swamps, with of course some others being thinly spread across the map in small amounts. Now in Chapter 3 Season 1, there are 87 slurp barrels distributed rather evenly across the map. Similarly, there are also 171 produce boxes spread relatively evenly throughout the map as well, so now a lot more players and teams will get access to not only the free shield in these, but also the peppers for enhanced movement speed. Last chapter, all the pepper spawns are basically limited to one POI, Catty Corners, but now the majority of named POIs have access to these outside of Rocky Reels. Teams like Janus and Vortex, who placed second in the first Cash Cup of the season, heavily utilize this in their early game strategy. They land to the south side of Sleepy Sound, and on their individual looting paths, both has access to shield barrels and produce boxes, meaning they can essentially make the most out of the 20 chests they have there, as they barely need to use any shield that they loot. Vortex uses 7 shield barrels to the west side alongside the shield mushrooms obtained from the produce boxes to get himself all the way up to 200 HP. Janus lands on the east side and pops 2 minis, then grabs the 3 slurp barrels and produce boxes to the north. You might think it's a waste, since he could have just used the same shield barrels as Vortex, but landing more split enables him to loot the entire place faster, disengage quicker, finding plenty of minis along the way anyway, so it won't necessarily matter. As you can see, as they leave their POI, they are not struggling for shield one little bit, unlike many of the other teams in the lobby.
You know, Reese, while we're on the topic of heals, we have to talk about the new coolers. These trusty new resources provide 3 different variations of loot. You can get 4 chug splashes, 2 guzzle juices, or 2 chug splashes and 1 guzzle juice. We've already seen this become a huge staple in competitive play. For example, Booga and Skittles drop in Chonker Speedway that has 17 cooler spawns, and when they leave this drop spot, they often have 18 chug splashes split across both of their inventories. This totals to 720 HP that can be healed if utilized effectively. With the cars already equipped here in Chonker Speedway with those nice off-road tires, they have that ease of mobility around the map. With this additional mobility and all of the chug splashes from the cooler boxes, this allows them to spend much more time looting in zone for ammo and better weapons. The issue with this strategy, though, is that it requires you to take a mid-game fight for your surge damage. But for a team like Booga and Skittles, that's something they're very confident in. Overall, this is a very unconventional but successful early game strategy they've been implementing. Last but not least, we have probably the most impactful addition to the map, and that is the spider webs. These webs provide you with mythic Spider-Man web shooters, an easy rotational tool using the webs, and additional heals. Having these provide numerous benefits in the early game, like easy shield and fast mobility. Now, these webs can be really useful in the early game for faster looting, but can be a double-edged sword in the endgame. In this game, the first moving zone pulls from south of Daily Bugle to the northwest, which means there are a large amount of obstacles in players' way. Shady and Waze have boxed up next to one of these webs, meaning when the zones start to pull, they can leave their box and get an easy rotation from low ground without the use of a launch pad, and also saving them a ton of material. However, if you're not watching each turn in a messy endgame, you could easily bounce off of one of these and be sent into the zone, or even worse, into Tayson's line of sight. With these incredible additions to the map, plus some old favorites returning, we can't wait to see you all in action when FNCS returns in February. Until next time, we'll see you on the battle bus. Beep beep!
It feels amazing to be back at FNCS.
I'm excited to keep my journey alive and keep pushing.
I just love to win.
This is where it's all going down, you know?
Yeah, I'm excited to go up against like all the high tier pros and see how well I could do.
I feel like I can do the best I've ever done. My IGLing is what separates me from the other players.
I like to think that I have very good aim.
Other competitors should fear us. I'm very excited to crush the competition this season.
My toughest opponent is probably going to be like no one. I'm just the best.
I'm ready to win this FNCS. This FNCS has to be mine.
I just can't wait to show everybody how good I am.
And I'm not going anywhere for this FNCS besides first place.
Let's get it, boys.
Let's go!
FNCS, NAE, Duos, Chapter 3, Season 1. It all starts right here. Now, many players will leave tilted. Towers will rise and fall. But rest assured, this is your sanctuary. My name is Adam Savage. I am delighted to be your host for the entirety of Chapter 3, Season 1. Welcome in wherever you're watching from around the world. You are in for a treat. It all starts right here, as I said, as we have got duos this season, not trios anymore, but duos, and all the action is coming to you from the region right here on the broadcast. It's qualifiers weekends, but it's not just me, of course. I'm keeping up with the Joneses, as I have Vivid and SBG here as well, joining me on the broadcast. Boys, it is good to have you here. SBG, welcome to the squad, but Vivid, welcome back, my friend. I mean, that smile, you could melt 1,000 hearts, dude. It's good to see you again. How are you? How are you feeling about duos and an all-new season as well?
Oh man, Duos has got me so excited. You know, we left Trios with an absolute banger of a last season, and we've taken a break for a couple months, right? There's been a huge break, so these players have had a lot of time to grind out a little bit more and form these new relationships with other players, form all new duos. And listen, over that time period too, we have a whole new chapter to present to you guys today over the competitive course of things. And speaking about new duos, I have a new duo on the desk. SBG, how you feeling, man?
Hey, what's up, guys? I'm filling in for Adam. He's now the host, and I have some top-tier analysis that needs to be dropped in, and, you know, you guys are an awesome crew. I'm super happy to be here, and we have some of the best players in the world playing Fortnite, and we're going to be watching that here today.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great to have you here. I mean, the entire team here at NAE, we're absolutely loving this. A great squad, and you guys watching as well, with us for the entirety of this. It's going to be so much fun, and we'll get onto the teams very shortly, but let's talk about the broadcast schedule and what's coming your way over the coming weeks as well. It's all very exciting, as you can imagine here as well. We have ourselves today our qualifiers. Now, teams have been trying to compete all weekend long to get into the finals. You can see the qualifier 1 here, February 18th. We have qualifier 2 on Sunday, that's February 20th. And you can see as well semi-finals, February 25th through 27th, followed by the finals kicking off March 5th and 6th. It's very close. But remember as well now, guys, all new this season, you can watch all the action on the new Legends Landing found in the Buy Epic Discovery Row. Make sure to check it out. It is fire. It's amazing. It's great to have that this entire season, and you can watch that at home from Legends Landing, which is great. Guys, there is so much to talk about. We can talk about maps and weapons and players and all of this kind of stuff. Let's actually, before we go into any real detail here, take a look at the format of how the stages have progressed throughout the entirety of this competition. As I said here, you can see qualifiers week 1, Vivid, starting off with round 1, round 2, round 3. Take it away.
Yeah, so tonight we're going to be looking at round 3 of this first qualifier here, where top 8 is the magical number. Players are going to be fighting for an automatic advancement to the finals if they get top 8, and this will be repeated on Sunday. After this, next weekend, we have the semifinals, where there will be 3 sessions, and a big switch up here in the semifinals. Every single victory royale that happens in the semifinals will be an auto advancement to the finals, and then also within each of those sections, the top 6 consistent teams will also advance to the finals. And of course, we have the finals, where ultimately we will crown our Chapter 3 Season 1 FNCS champions over the course of 2 days of competition.
And we're here for the first qualifier, so let's talk about the points and the scoring structure. So if you were playing round 1 and round 2, it was a slightly different structure. It was 25 points for the Victory Royale and 1 point per elimination. Now we got 32 points for the Victory Royale and 3 points for each elimination.
you get better and better talent in each game. So that means the eliminations are going to count even more. And you're going to have to get to at least 35th just to get 1 point. So making those end games, getting into those 9th zones, that is where all the placement points and the top tier teams are going to be.
Yeah, we saw all of last season, didn't we, Vivid, as well? The combination of the two, it's so important to get both your points for eliminations and standings as well. And these are the teams that we're going to see competing this evening. And walk us through who sticks out for you.
I mean, listen, we've seen confidence coming out of Iamzo, so I'm expecting Iamzo and Degen to do very, very well. Obviously, Degen usually pairing up with Aegis, but a little bit of a split there. As I said, a whole lot of new duos have formed in the offseason, but like duos like Mega and Dubs, duos that have been together forever, still finding themselves competing very, very well, and the chemistry is still there, so it's awesome to see all these duos come together today for this qualifier.
Yeah, you love to see Mega and Dubs back in a final round. You know, it just feels nostalgic to be there. And then checking out this other screen, we got players like Gold and Tieko, Knifer and Byla. Then, you know, we have somebody who just managed to sneak in that very last match, maybe the very last elimination. Bugha and Miro, some of the favorites, your current NA East FNCS champions. They won the last trio FNCS. Now they're looking to qualify back into finals.
Yeah, I mean, 8 teams will qualify to go through to finals. I mean, it's Now, what's interesting, of course, the map has completely changed. This new chapter, a new map comes, new POIs, and of course, trios, now duos. It now gets a bit more congested in certain POIs. Let's take a look at some of them. What areas on the map, Vivid, really stick out for you? You think there's going to be a lot of contestation? The contestation happening.
Gotta be my favorite POI of the new chapter. I think that the dynamic of the spider webs that are all over the place, you being able to bounce straight up to the high ground of these buildings, adds for a whole new dynamic when it comes to fighting off spawn. And obviously, like those bigger POIs that just have so much loot to fight for, makes it worth actually going there to be contested. And another big POI, Tilted Towers, another fan favorite where there is so much loot, we're always going to see some contestation there.
Yeah, outside of the POIs, we just look at that top left corner of the map. Yeah. That's the new toughest end games to have because of those tall mountains going up. And these players are going to have to learn how to navigate those because it previously used to be in the bottom right corner on the old Chapter 2 map. We've moved that, switched it, flipped it, and now we're going to see these players claim those top spots. And, you know, it's a matter of give and take. Do I want to sit as close to that lake that's nearby those mountains, or do I want to go all the way up to, like, what we're seeing now and try and play the zones, continue to pull all the way to the top left?
Yeah, you've really got to kind of put into consideration here, is it worth kind of engaging straight away, the storm surge comes into effect, or backing off and holding out to the end game kind of storm kind of as it starts to move in towards the final circle. Let's have a look at some of the players in detail. We have a player profile for you right now. This is Cease. Let's check out what he has to say.
Alright, what's going on, Fortnite fam? Today I'm in the lobby with Cease. How are you getting on today? Simple one to start it off.
I'm doing pretty good,
Perfect, that's what we like to hear, So, I'm going to go with a bit of a wild card to start things off with here. Assuming the entire world was a zero ping single region, who would you want to duo with?
I'd probably want to do it with Volks, because he's a funny man, he's OCE, and yeah, I've hung out with him a bunch of times.
Another weird one. Time travel your current skill back to the 2019 Solo World Cup. Where are you placing?
I don't think I put much more than like a couple hours into practicing for solos because I was so focused on duos, and duos was of course the day before, so I was already excited. I was like, I already did. So what can I do? So I literally landed at the most shambles spot ever. If I could change anything, I would probably just land the block.
What would be the first and best piece of advice you'd give someone who's kind of new, starting to get into the competitive scene now and just starting to improve their kind of Fortnite competitive placement?
If you place top 15 in a cash cup, take that $200, whatever it is, and put it aside. If you get top 10 in the grand finals, just put that aside for a new computer or for a new mouse that you've been wanting or whatever. Like, invest in yourself. That's exactly what I did. Like, my 2 teammates in the last FNCS were on the worst computers possible. I got them new computers for the Grand Royale, and look what happened. We made I think we made double what we made in the last FNCS.
Where do you rate yourself on the greatest of all time, the GOAT list?
I think right now I probably put myself, within the top 25. But I think after this year, I'll be, back into the top 10, top 5.
There's a lot of money to play for when it comes to a lot of these finals, and there's a lot of stress involved in that too. Are you planning anything in particular with your mindset?
I don't think I had any nerves at World Cup. Like, I literally had duos, and I can tell because we were so prepared and we had a game plan knocked out. But then it came to solos, and I was extremely nervous because I had nothing, and I was by myself, and so now into trios, it's like. This last FNCS, I had so much prepared. I knew exactly what our game plan was. I knew what we were going to do, and we knocked it out.
You already mentioned earlier your favorite game mode is duos in particular. What's your least favorite game mode?
Well, duos is always a part of the game, but when trios came out, I was like, oh, no way, a year of trios. I hate it. Now we're on the duos, and I'm like, no, trios is gone. I want trios. And so I always in squads, and I'm guessing if squads got announced for a year or however long, I would be like, I'd hate it, but then by the end of the year, I'd love it. So it's just I don't really know. I think squads right now, but who knows? Maybe it's probably solos, honestly.
Thank you very much for your time, Cease. It's very, very, very appreciated here. Where can the people find you?
At Cease on everything. That's just my handle across all socials, so just stay in touch.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Reese and Cease there. I mean, that alone is a duo there, fellas. I mean, the names just rhymes just off the tongue so perfectly. But great to hear some insight from a player there as well, one of which we're going to see throughout this competition. There's lots more that we want to focus on, of course, for you guys at home, lots of fans of our players out there, and we want you guys to get engaged as much as possible. The first duo we want to talk about, before we get into the nitty-gritty of predictions, I know we're excited about that one, fellas. The nitty-gritty here is DGen and Iomzo. We saw Iomzo in the pre-show as well, just kind of sits back very casual. He just looks confident. He oozes confidence here, Vivid. Why are this team so special? Why should we be looking out for them?
Listen, I think that the confidence from Iomzo has got to be his specialty. And as you can see, they are going to be landing over here in the northwest region of the map. A little bit of a split drop. And listen, Iomzo and DGen, you can see through their duo Cash Cup performances that they do have very high potential to place very, very well. Looking at it here, we can see an 18th place in one of the Cash Cups, a 5th place in one of the most recent Cash Cups that happened. So they are feeling very, very confident. And Iomzo in the pre-show, he just spills that confidence.
Yeah, he definitely does. And DGen's kind of one of those quiet guys. Doesn't say too much, just plays his game. Has been really good for a really long time. Plus, as you guys can see, where they land, they're getting a loot llama right off the start.
Yeah.
So that's a great way to start. You're not spending a lot of time farming materials. You get to prioritize positioning, and you have a ton of ammo to go make plays, get some tags. We know that's going to be super important today.
Yes, certainly. We've seen DGen and Aegis for so long now. DGen and Iomzo. This could be the one, fellas. It could be the one. Let's jump into our next duo as well. Jacques and Illist here as well. Acorn, Jacques and Slacks rolls off the tongue. We've said that for years now. Jacques and Illist. What are we saying here, Vivid? Another duo here that I think are going to go a very long way in this competition.
Oh yeah, listen, I love when Illist's name comes up because we all remember those clutch highlights that we've seen time and time again out of Illist. Now, we haven't seen a lot of them as of late, but we know that he has the potential to do it. And with Jack, who is like a well-rounded player, somebody who is often very, very smart in the endgame situations, if Jack can kind of bring Illist to a very good situation in the end games, Illist has the potential to just pop off and find many, many elims. And throughout like duo cash cups, we see a 3rd place, a 7th place, a 23rd place, all of which have made money. So very high placements out of that duo. So they do have some good rolling placements coming into this FNCS.
And we know both them individually are great players, and then Jack has kind of been able to develop his own style, especially when he was playing with Acorn. Now it's time to take it to a different teammate. Illist, you got a lot to live up to because Jack and Acorn were one of the best, so I want to see these two do really well.
Yeah, me too. We want to see everyone do well. We're such fans of everyone's here. We're completely unbiased. We love everybody, okay? Speaking of which, two players who are absolutely, arguably two of the greatest players in the region right now, cold and scented. We can't champion these guys enough. Why are they so good?
Listen, we've all heard the name Scented like a million times, right? Every single FNCS we have to talk about him because he's usually so confident, right? And then Cold is somebody who maybe a lot of you haven't necessarily heard his name, but listen, this season, if you were paying close attention to the comp, you will hear his name multiple times. Looking at their recent cash cups, actually the most recent one, they ended up winning. And then reading through the other ones, 20th place finish, a 9th place finish. Like, these guys have been doing so well in these cash cups. Scented being one of the strongest IGLs in the region. Cold, he's kind of gone under Scented's wing and learned a lot, and they have been fighting very well in the mid game, which is kind of out of pocket for Scented because he likes to play for the end game. So it's interesting to see this new play style bringing in Cold.
And typically, it's really kind of a detrimental term to call someone an IGL as far as mechanical skill goes.
Yeah.
But Scented is absolutely crazy the way he plays this game. He's not, your traditional I play slow, I do things a traditional IGL style. So that's why those guys have been one of the best teams, if not the best already this season.
Yeah, we want to see a little bit of crazy as well. Bit of Vavavoom out there in the lobby. We want to see that happen. It's fireworks for us at home, isn't it? That's the main thing. Obviously, one thing we talked about in the beginning of the show was kind of the contestation element. The kind of like from the off-spawn fights as well in particular are going to be really exciting to see because players need to stand their ground and claim their POI. Let's take a look at one that's going to be quite interesting actually. Knifer versus Iomza and the Llama split. Vivid, why is this in particular a really interesting engagement that we're definitely going to see unfold?
Well, listen, we know the llama's going to be there, right? So there's got to be this like weird element where it's like, okay, we know the llama's over there, right? But it's like, which one of these teams are going to make a play for it first? Because as SBG pointed out, you just get so many mats and so much ammo that if you ever actually do get it over the other duo, then you basically have this huge lead in mat, ammunition that you can just use to spray out the other builds of the other team. So it's going to be a very interesting contestation at a split drop.
And Knifer has been conning them basically all season just with different duos at this drop. So I'm interested to see how this plays out. Are they both going to go straight for the 50-50 here to qualify for finals?
Yeah, I think every team now, every duo is going to have something in their back pocket. Something clutch things up, give and take in whatever circumstance presents itself. Let's talk about Tilted Towers as well. A fan favorite. It's back on the map. Everyone is super excited about it. There's a particular engagement we're excited to see on that one as well. What can you tell us about it, Vivid? What's going to happen at Tilted? Is it going to be all-out carnage?
Well, listen, Tilted is usually a drop that is being split up between the north and south side.
pump it up while your feet are stumping and the jam is pumping. I already got something.
iconic duo. If there's anything I can say about this team, these guys are definitely icons of our scene. They have been around for so long in duo season. It really does excite me to see them operating with one another. Now, the problem, I would say, with them in the previous seasons was they would make it the finals and not really find the results. But now that we're on duos time, maybe, just maybe, we see the resurgence of Doves and Mega.
Well, I think they never necessarily found somebody who they felt super comfortable with and matching their playstyle because they had played together for so long. Like, you're never going to hit that level of chemistry, right? It's just, regardless of any sport, any competitive, when you've had a player for a while, even if you mesh incredibly well with somebody, if you already have amazing chemistry with a duo, it makes it so hard to then play. So when you do get back to this, it's a nice little breath of confidence, and I can't imagine Mega has a ton of confidence, right? 3 elims early on. I mean, they're just now kind of getting into those late game situations where generally we really see them thrive. So this is the first time we've seen them set up for success like this in a while.
Yeah, big elims early on. I do want to see if we can get an early taste or early look at where they're dropping. How are these elims coming about to them? Bugha and Mira, on the other hand, trying to play for prime spot here now. Not only do they have to get in the zone, but they want to play for a little bit of height here. This is a risk that they're going to take as a duo right below them starts to focus up. But he gets tagged a little bit here. Miro does have to track in behind. He is trailing a bit. You can see he also loses his shield in the rotation process here, but everything seems to simmer down now. They are situated on the other side. Threats and users under pressure here. 46 below the surge. They have to find a fight right now. It's only going to get more and more difficult as 17 players have to fall here.
Yeah, that's just bonkers surge numbers right now. I mean, we're only 3 below the zone 3 surge as we're about to go into 5. So 9 duos are going to be under pressure and maybe even a couple solos put in there. You can see Cracked Teed going down there on Rihanna and Bank. I think are going to be the ones who ended up actually getting the knock. You can see Bugha in the bottom right-hand corner looking for some tags. Everyone either triple digits above or double digits. Bugha is currently the closest to that Storm Surge line looking for tags, but everyone also has a ton of excess shields in their utility, either between them and their duo, so plenty of shots there. There's Bank getting the confirm onto Teed. Trashy also picking up one onto RN Star. Illis gets a pair there. Quam Magnolia going down outside of the next placement threshold. 1 point will be awarded when we get to 30 duos left. Acorn going to pick up the knock there onto Sinna. Baka also getting a knock onto Edgy, but Tahi's going to trade the favor as Owl is going to get the confirmation onto Lava Boy, so was picked up and sent back down. Tahi ends up picking up his confirmation as Commandment and Stretch is kind of looking for shots, and Zone drops directly on top of their head.
Yeah, this is the perfect situation here. They kind of catch the full zone favor. They get to hang out, focus teams on the outer edge that have to rotate on in, and this is that perfect spot you want to be in. Now, let's not forget, guys, this terrain here is only going to get more and more difficult as we are kind of playing between a piece of the mountain and this valley, low ground, flat area. So we do have a little bit of elevation in play. Anyone that has a piece of that mountain should be in a more favorable situation, but you can't count out that low ground being almost the spot to be in as well, because it's going to be pretty clear players are going to want to start congesting up the side. Miro, though, is by himself, left in a situation now to go ahead and rotate and clutch as a solo. Luckily, he does have a lot of material to work with here, and he finds a nice, cozy little location here.
2 peppers should be able to help out as well, giving him the burst of movement speed. You can see the little bit of steam coming out there, but everyone is now going to begin the rotation in. If somebody is relying on the Mythic Spiderweb shooter to end up closing in, or the launch pads, they're going to use them right about now, keeping an eye on the bottom right-hand side of the map. So a couple players will start moving a little bit quicker. Everyone's going to pack in towards the outside and then hope that the moving zone pulls over towards their side. Like you said, I mean, if it goes basically anywhere but slightly northwest, it's going to be a tough time. There is a lot of change in verticality. And let's take a look at 2 solos right now. Top of your screen, Miro running solo. Bottom left of your screen, Tahi running solo. And then Cold and Sentence still up on their feet. Cold rocking with 2 eliminations as, hey, we pulled to the northwest. So a little bit of flat space, some sliding potential in play here, but not a ton of the lobby is postured up over on that side. You can see everyone now beginning to move back over towards there. And things are about to get weird for a lot of the solos here. Generally, if you have those Mythic Web Gauntlets, it's not too difficult to rotate through 6 and 7 because you're able to create enough horizontal space where you can just kind of wait for zone to catch up and then go. But 8 and 9 ends up being really difficult, and Sent in the bottom right-hand side opens up for a second. Dink, 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 gone. as a player dropped down. Tahi open up, looking for a gap in the bottom left-hand side. Miro's also probably going to pop a pepper and go late, as we're going to zoom in on Scented, the low ground king himself. Him and Cold generally bound towards the front side of the zone, but it's going to be a little bit interesting here as they're moving back. These are some of their old builds, but there are players who have already established themselves and are beginning to about face, and Cold took a bunch of damage there.
Yeah, but this is where Scented really starts to come in clutch here, right? His decision-making in the end game is usually flawless right now. Look at this. They managed to save a ton of material. We thought we would see a little sliding mechanic in play, and Scented proving that he's got the skills to throw right now. He's going to go ahead and box that player up, pretty much leave Cold to kind of close things out there and slide on in, as his focus is getting to the new zone. A disciplined decision there to stop the fight, play for positioning. Mira on the other side has to make these same kind of decisions, but unfortunately, out of heals, out of gas. He's going to have to take a fight right now, as he also has no material. Could this be the blessing in disguise? No. That player had shield. This is rough. The launch pad comes out, though, and he is just holding on right now, trying to get in front of this zone, and he is going to buy himself a little bit more time. As every team falls now, there will be points divvied out, right? So this is very, very important that Miro tries to stay up here.
Yeah, once you're into that top 25, every single duo who goes down, it basically means, hey, you made it to the late game, congratulations, and good luck, as Miro now trying to earn some of those hero points, the individual effort points. He will find a striker pump shot there, but only going to end up being the 29 headshot. Not what he needs, the uncommon, not necessarily having the best insta-down potential coming through here as he's hunting for targets. You can see him spinning around, checking the side, wants to find a lurker on the backside of the zone because he doesn't have a single build. He basically just has to follow and hope somebody ends up leaving there. But he needs to also be careful about misstep. Anything more than that will take him down, and Old Man Mountain looking to claim its toll here. He sees he's stuck between a rock and a hard place. Will he find it? And he goes down to the pair of agents. Up on the high ground, though, Liquid, Stretch, TSM, Commodon, raining shots down, and Old Man Mountain is going to force everyone over towards the side and into a bunch of metal builds as Fatch and Pamsat also go down. Trashy falling to Scented as duos are just getting whittled away.
Yeah, but Stretch doesn't even have a lot of ammunition to work with here. He has to be careful. No shotgun either. So this is everything he has right now. It seems like he's already threw it at the lobby, and this is just a means to hold on. The pressure there is all one big bluff on height, but that's not going to be the problem here. The real problem is this zone. It's coming down, so they're going to have to come down as well. That limited fire is going to be very interesting. Illa slides off the mountain. This is Raz for him. Down he goes. It's up to Jack by himself. He's got a player inside the box. That man's on the run. Jack finds a little moment here. Now he's going to go ahead and reload, gather himself, play for the situation. Do you go up? Do you go down? He doesn't have mats actually send down. There's only one direction for him to start heading in.
Yeah, he's actually going to pause for a second, see if he... A gift from above falls directly in front of him. He's able to get a quick reset on mats, but nothing else, and he immediately gets taken down. That's 8 eliminations, I believe, for their duo, though you can see Dubs is still up on his feet towards the bottom stretch, and Commodore trying to work towards the bottom, and a great little hop. Looks like he's playing a platformer and not a battle royale there. A Stretch navigates, finds a pepper. Will he pop it and get in front of the zone? Trying to use the slide to create a little bit of a change in the side, but he will go down. That's 4th place. Cam and Bucky back up on the high ground. Cold and Scented on the low ground. They got a single solo sandwich in between. Which duo will be able to find the elim points that will come through? It's Cold picking up Nosh there, and we have a 2v2 coming up to close out match number 1, and a huge shot from Cold.
My gosh.
Looking for elim number 8, but he gets immediately ripped down, and Scented gets closed out, and Cam and Bucky take match number 1.
What a big game there for Cam and Bucky there to turn things around. We knew that the no ammo on height was going to be a big problem. We get to see things from Tahi's perspective for a second there as he manages to find himself some endgame points, but Scented and Cold, man, hats off to them. Coming into endgame with 2 eliminations, which was already impressive enough. They managed to pull a 2nd place in game 1 with near 10 eliminations as a duo. Here's Smite and Larson. They didn't get that time in the shine there at the end, but it's okay because Cam and Bucky managed to give us all the limelight we needed there. 6 eliminations in a victory royale. Well deserved for the well-executed high ground retake there.
Yeah, it was very well played, and incredibly impressed with Cold and his ability to end up finding the eliminations that they needed to put him up on the board. Unfortunately, not able to find the just the closeout one, the 100 shot, but then the fact that he got dropped down and both team battling with next to no materials, and unfortunately close it out, but I think they might end up being first place on the back of the elims.
Yeah, definitely. Those elims are going to start to add up there, guys. The difference between finding elims versus that last little squeeze on placement points is a pretty big margin. I would go the elim route, especially under this format, but that was just the game number one to kick things off. We're going to toss it on over to the desk because the boys definitely have a breakdown for us.
Boy, don't we. Cam and Bucky there with, I think, 7 eliminations and the victory royale to kick things off here. Fellas, we saw a lot of the teams, actually, the predictions as well. So close, SPG, so close. Cold incentive there. We saw Illis there with 6 eliminations. Lots of players managing to clutch up. Miro surviving so long as well without Booga by his side there, just weaving around.
Yeah.
Like a whistle around the different boxes. Talk us through here, though, Vivid. I mean, what a great first game it was. And we saw a lot there, as we said, from Cold Incentive, who really kind of set a precedent here as well.
Yeah, a lot to talk about throughout this game. One of the highlights, though, for me was this Illis clutch up here. Left in a 1v2 situation, picks up both of those eliminations. But, I mean, listen, this is classic Scented, right? Where he always gets second place in these games because he plays that low ground. But then you have Bucky and Cam come up with a win, but then you kind of feel like you're just entitled to talk about Scented and Cold because they played so well. Even though they could pick up the second place, to get there, it was just astronomically insane. Like, we talked about the aggression earlier that Scented has implemented into his gameplay here. MDF mentioned it. They came into the end game with 2 eliminations. That alone is impressive. But then through the end game, they're still aggressive.
Yeah, they're just clearing out their layers. If you go to the low ground, you're going to have to fight for it. They're simply saying, this is our space. They're the entirety of late game and saying, all right, we're the best 2 fighters on the region, come see us, this is our low ground. And they just absolutely slayed out. I mean, Cold was popping 7 elims, and man, if he comes and swings this pump right here, that would have been incredible. I would have loved to see that. But hey, shouts out Cam and Bucky, because that was a great clutch by them to secure the dub in game 1.
Yeah, it certainly was. And I guess the big question is, can they keep up appearances and do that again and again and again? It might happen. We'll have to wait and see. But you can see a lot of teams there we've predicted and talked about as well already starting to make their way up that leaderboard. I think we have the standings for you right now, how things are currently looking after game 1. And it is looking pretty for Cold and Scented. They're sat on the top spot, 28 placing points, 9 eliminations, 55 to kick things off, Vivid. That is looking awesome.
Yeah, those elims playing a big role in how they get up to that first place spot. Not getting the victory royale, but still in that first place position.
Yeah, and you know, a lot of teams getting, 4, 5, 6 eliminations here. It's about that consistency. You're setting the tone in this first match. Now, can anyone else continue to do it throughout the rest of the day?
Indeed. I mean, we can see here as well. I mean, Commandment and Stretch, my pick, had got into 8th position there as well. They've just crept in there, but Slacks is coming through. Lots of big players as well, really making their way through. It is time, though, to get back into all the action. Wow. Game 2 is ready to rock and roll. We ain't holding around here. We're diving straight back in. It's Battle Bus time. I think it's Battle Bus time. I think I'm waiting for the beep. When the beep comes through, then we can jump into proceedings. But I mean, obviously, we've talked about the map. We've talked about different rotations. There's the beep. The beep is playing around with me. It's messing with me. Stop it, beep. Stop it right now. Let's dive into game 2. It is ready to rock and roll. We'll talk more about the map after this. Here we go.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we have it. The battle bus is on the way. Little moment of intensity here as we start flying through the map. Players start deciding where they went wrong in the last game and how they can improve their position coming into game number 2. Arguably the most important game here, Sundown, because now you've kind of had a feel for the air, and now we get to get the real taste of what's going to go down here in game 2.
And immediately eyes on the top right-hand part of the screen as Degen and Iamzo have actually opted to go straight into Covert Cavern, not going over towards the llama off the start. So a little bit of a swap in the game plan. We saw that they kind of took that 50-50 off of the Rit last game, and didn't necessarily go so well, but Iamzo also took some damage coming through, and he's getting shot here, and there's another llama right nearby, Monster.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think the decision really came out to be, well, do we fight for that one or take this free one right here? I mean, that's really what they want, right? It's a llama, and they get one. So I guess Lady Luck kind of plays in their favor this time around. They get to have not only a solid backup, but exactly what they came to this drop spot for. All the loot, all the heals, and now they're off to a good start. So here's the real question. Do they have a grudge against the opponents, Knifer and crew over at the house nearby? That cabin, that shack, or will they just kind of take this as a small W and play the game out? We'll find out soon.
So now we're going to swing on over, as you requested, Monster. Phase Mega, Phase Dubs. Yes. Just a little bit north of Shifty Shafts, and you can see kind of what their game plan is here. To land on the higher part of the map, use the innate verticality and the fact that you touch down on the ground much faster than people actually go all the way over to the main POI. And if you grab one of those MK7s, it's free Storm Surge tags. You can see Dubs has already taken a little bit of damage, but the fact there is so much heals and utility, and you drop, that is such a good drop, Monster.
Yeah, that's the perfect case situation right here. You was just talking about the strength of having that little bit of high ground for the tags, and then you drop this right here. This is perfect. And you're kind of seeing the strength of this drop spot. You're seeing the strengths of a lot of our major POI drop spots. These are locations that are big enough to house multiple duos, right, and get comfortable loot. Like, this is what I would call a very comfortable loadout, even without the legendary pickup there. So now that teams get comfy, they get to fight on their own terms, right? And the last time we saw Mega and Dubs have 3 elims in the mid game, so I'm assuming they're playing pretty aggressive here at the drop.
I think it probably depends on what damage they're able to get right off of the start, and I think that is playing adaptive as a duo is one of the most important things. I think in trios you can kind of game plan it out a little bit more because the map's a little bit more solved and there's less fluidity over what people are looting and where they're going. In duos, if you're able to rip somebody with a couple of tags, you can press a 2v1 advantage and make somebody pay, particularly early on, and you can already see just that. There's so many shields on Sent, and he wants to just try and make sure he min-maxes and uses the exact right amount, as I'm sure many of you do, whether it's in your arena, your casual games, your early tournament round games, or even the FNCS final games if somebody who was knocked out early is now tuning in. You want to make sure you kind of hit all of those min-maxes and pop those little minis, and we're going to swing on over as SU and Lone Star Drew are in yet another fight off of the start, this time just a little bit over on the east side of the Sanctuary on those isolated islands.
Yeah, it's a very interesting place to fight. You don't really expect anyone to come on in third-party use, so this is going to be a fair on, or pretty much a clean 2v2 situation now. Ishu does have a little bit of an advantage here. Actually, let's make that a big advantage. That's a white tag there, and they kind of feel and find out that they have the advantage here in this battle. He's going to play the distance. Beautifully done to side angles, and they each find one for their troubles. That's siphoned to both parties, and look at this. They're not going to pick up much, but they are going to earn themselves 6 free points there, which is probably the most important thing you can get in these early game situations, that little bit of padding for your drop.
Yeah, and that's what you want to do, is be able to force them out, but we also saw that they had a tough time in match number 1, so nice little confidence booster. But somebody who didn't have a tough time in match number 1 but is having a tough time in match number 2, Clear to G. LG Slacks under pressure right here, and with only 3 builds, it's going to be tough. No shotgun either, which means you kind of have to win a war of attrition, but in a 1v2, that's not necessarily the winningest of strategy. And he's going to go for the spray and straight in instead. He's able to find an isolated 1v1. No, it was just a straight-up 1v1, and Rhythm didn't have the rhythm right there. He gets cleaned up. He won't feel the rhyme, and Quan Magnolia, it looks like they might be trying to close him, potentially isolate this out. They heard the shots, and yep, here they come.
And what they're looking for is to make up for lost time here. You can see that little 28 down by the team number means that they did not do too hot in the last game here. They're really trying to come back. And look at this. They find... Oh, wait a second. So there's Clarity, and then there's Tieko just nearby from Team Zen as well. So you have multiple solos here. Little do they know, that's the reboot going off, though, so they definitely know this guy's by himself. In through the top, SMGs come out. Big pressure is through. That's a shield crack as well. Qua and Magnolia should be able to find themselves a freebie here for little to no pressure, but Wait a second, they give him a little too much time instead of being more aggro into the build, and I think Clarity got away. Yes, the web slingers come out, and he opens up the gap there, so gone he is like the wind, and Clarity G managed to hold on to the 8th spot and fight for another day.
Clarity got away, but somebody who did not was TK, who will have to fight another day. Yes, that all rhymed. Don't worry. Check it out. I'm a poet. Didn't even know it as he got sent back to the lobby. Iamzo trying to disengage here as 2 other duos end up closing ranks. Going to be forced to burn some of those chug splashes that are directly on top of each other. Does still have 6 more of the chili chug splashes, but again, you generally want to save those for the later game. They're so incredibly valuable. And honestly, if they have the ability to, I think you might just try and dip. There's pretty much the entirety of the west side of the map is going to get funneled into the spot. You can't really rotate north of here. You can't super rotate south of here because you end up getting caught in just blatant sight lines from people who are going to be posted up on the high ground. So if they have the chance to rotate out, I would say do it.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, they have the water, another means to just kind of speed up their rotation, right? So a couple of options in play here. The most dangerous duo is going to be the one on the mountain, though, that's probably listening and watching on in from a distance here. Those shots are definitely close enough for them to have an understanding that there's a team here, a bit of a pickle. And there it is. There goes that disengage that Sundown was calling for. Nicely done. They're going to go on and use a little bit of their mobility. It's Spare Ball on the other side. Little headshot straight off the rip there. Out the vehicle, you peek, you snooze, you lose. And that is the troubles that they get punished for taking the little peek onto the Iamzo and Degen.
Yeah, and it almost seemed like they were considering maybe taking the fight just because they are in such shambles. It's so few builds, only 30 builds on the Iamzo. You can see they've already been forced to burn through a lot of their excess utility, and now they're going to double back up onto the high ground. And if you take a look at the bottom right hand corner, you can see what I was talking about. We've already seen 2 duos rotate away, 2 more rotating into the area, and you're basically forced to either go way north of you or directly along that road. But with the 2 mountain peaks, you don't really want to do that, so now we're going to swing away from the west side of the map all the way down to the south. Miro and Booga with plenty of utility, going to post up probably on this campfire, maybe wait a little bit, rotate in late if they're feeling okay on Surge, but instead, nope, just going to keep ripping right on the storm line.
Yeah, and with how fast that zone's moving, it's a good indicator to give you guys an understanding of how far they have to go. Lots of fights are happening around the map, though, guys. Lots of action unfolding here in the world coming into Game 2 of NA East First, Chapter 3, Season 1, FNCS. Things are really kicking off. I mean, listen, with all these teams getting into these hyper activities all around the map, I mean, you get to see some crazy plays. Here's one of them. Magnolia lands right inside the vehicle of Tieko. He's just looking for the knee shot. It wasn't an arrow to the knee. It was a shotgun instead. That wide pellet spread's going to be enough for him to find him. You hate to get clipped like that, but these are the things that happen only in Fortnite.
Yeah, that was sick. I'm not even gonna lie, that was really cool, just seeing him being able to drop directly down on top of that disengage. I mean, you know the player's already in shambles if he's trying to just hop in a car and get out of dodge, but being able to close that gap and knowing that it's worth it in that regard, because we talked about the adjustment coming through on those Mythic Spider-Man gauntlets, originally up at 80, then down to 20, then put down to 10 this week ahead of the FNCS. And if you're gonna use them, you better either be creating a ton of distance and have to get out, it better be in the late game, or be securing eliminations and key points like that.
You know, at this point, I think tournament after tournament, I'm just going to start coining up a only in Fortnite moment. That's going to be one of them right there, guys, right? Is these things happen pretty regularly. At this point, we could make a whole series off of the insane type of plays that we're going to see come out of here, the clever strats that we see come in. I don't think Tieko even realized that he actually landed in his vehicle because of how silent those web slingers can be kind of in real time. But on over to Nounsy and Sprite, who are in a fight here. They had a rough game 1, so off to a pretty bad start, and this is not looking too good either. A bit worse for Wares here, fighting in the storm, Sundown. I mean, I think you and I can both agree, not the greatest idea.
Now, unless you have a ton of heals, this duo was ready for it as Nounsy gets absolutely clipped, but Sprite trying to clip him right back. You can see damage ended up going through there, but will need to end up healing up. He has tons of chug splashes. We'll get the Siphon on the other side, and was that both of them? Yeah, it was both of them. Okay, got it.
Zone did the rest there. Zone did do the rest. The Siphon, unfortunately, was on the downed body, so Nowzy gets a little lucky there, though. The fact that he kind of chunked out the opponent and then the trade came in pretty quickly. Otherwise, that was looking pretty bad for Sprite.
That could have ended up being a negative situation, but Sprite, I mean, he is just super familiar to clutching out in a number of circumstances, perhaps one of the most historic clutches in NA East history in the reboot round there, that 1v3. Well, it was, I don't want to say a 1v2, that was basically like a 1.5 v2, 1.5, yeah, kind of coming out there with Nowzy hitting a key shot, and the fact that there are so many excess heals right here, they're going to be able to scavenge it off, but they're going to be playing right on the edge of Stormline, so the next question is, they're going to be fine on Storm Surge, but will they be able to get in safely? As we'll see the right-hand side, you'll see the first number, it says 179 below, and then it updates. What 179 below tells you is the team who has done the least amount of damage has to do 179 damage to get above it. That is the lowest line. So you know it's right around about like 5 or 6 solid rifle shots if you're able to get them off, and there's going to be a number of teams, but that's a pretty packed Storm Surge considering we still need, what, 7 duos? Oh my god, Illis just took so much damage.
Yeah, that's one problem with the MKs being into play right there. I feel like on NA East we're seeing more of these the Mark 7s, the MKs in play as opposed to EU earlier today, where we had a little bit of everything, right? We had the long range, kind of the heavy rifles in play for a little bit there, but I'm seeing so much more of this different type of style coming out of NA East right here. As we hop on over to Bucky and Cam, who are jumping in on this player, this has to be a fight for Surge right now, or some kind of positioning for Surge. They're trying to not only get to the zone, but see if they can bait out the team on high ground, like this Daily Bugle squad. This is a great angle here, by the way, to go ahead and target those wood builds. Very weak. But no, nothing comes through just yet, so they're going to have to actually get up there and take this fight.
Well, and as you say that, Bucky able to hit a nice little dink. That's the sound you want to hear, but even as he hits it, we talked about that Storm Surge on and players who are going to be above and below it. Everyone trying to climb up in terms of their position on the map and in terms of their position on that threshold, because right now, 13 below on the left-hand side, Bryce is landing a shot, and he's hitting shots, and they're not getting above the threshold. Ritual ends up going down. Now, Bucky, our Game 1 winner, going to find a great fight there. Able to clean it up in the top left of the feed, though. Keep an eye as Quaz able to pick up, too. That's a Liege and P-God being picked up yet again.
Rough games for them today. P-God and Elige not able to really pop off the way they're expecting to, but it's okay. It's only game number 2. Still plenty of tournament life in front of them. In the feed, though, Scented finds Polarized there, but Cole does get traded in the exchange. As you can see, he is fully eliminated by Nico, so Sented's going to have to figure this weird situation out. I think there's still another duo just nearby, but no, he is taken out by Mega. Okay, so there's all kinds of fights going on here. Scented and Cold completely taken out of the lobby now, unfortunately, after that great game 1. A couple elims for their troubles, though. Sundown at least kind of pads their spot, but it does leave it a little bit more open for other competitors to start climbing up the ranks here.
Yeah, it really leaves you wanting. Again, we talk about the placement points and the points available per each elimination. Again, 3 points per elim in round number 3 here. And the placement points start at top 35. So if you've gone down, hey, unfortunately, no points for you. The cascading placements points happen at the top 25, and we'll swing back on board. Dubs, Mega, they got so much loot, and Monster, not only do they have so much loot, peep where they are in the bottom right-hand corner of the map. They are, you could not possibly be more, I mean, maybe a little bit more center, maybe a couple pixels up to the northwest, but with all that extra build, they could go up as high as they want. They could go as vertical with all of the excess brick, all of the excess wood. Like, it could be so good, but we're going to end up actually taking a look and seeing what happened with Scented and Cold.
Yeah, this is a very important replay, and this is in this same location, guys. So the loot that they're standing on is Scented and Cold's loot. You can see just from the replay there, they got dived right into after finding their elimination. So there is just a mountain of loot for Mega and Dubs to play off of there, and it's dead center. What a prime location to be in coming into this game right now. Mega and Dubs are just having a day of their life so far. So these first 2 rounds really going in their favor. Long game in front of him, though. Stretch is just showing what he can do with the rifle, right? Just showing you guys, hey, this is why it is a very deadly weapon, but useful as well. The one drawback to this weapon is that fire rate, though. Take a look at Stretch. Once again, finding himself with very limited ammunition. That was the problem in the previous game. That was the reason why they couldn't win that last game, even when they had the high ground, right? It's one of those things you got to think about. Kanata and Acorn, though, alive at 3 eliminations here. Big loot as well. And look at this, dropping material, excess material for them to play off of. So, you know, put themselves in this position because they found some key elims.
Yeah, and they're going to need to tunnel into the zone. Let's see how they got those key eliminations. So we pop over to a replay with them. Acorn already sitting on 1, but Canada with a great swap there immediately over, and then closing up the edit, getting his teammate up. That's what you want to see. Not only securing the elim, but then also securing the space right after. Top left-hand corner of the feed. They'll keep an eye as that zone is closing in. You can see a number of players will go down. That's the edge of zone fights that are happening. And, hey, Mega and Dubs right in the middle of the zone yet again. They're actually slightly offset towards the side, so they could potentially pull the 5th zone directly on top of them. And, yeah, I think it's more likely to end up pulling slightly over the west based on the fact that it pulled back over the east just now. And it's less than likely to end up going more central in that regard. But we'll see, as everyone is now going to begin to posture for positioning around the outside. So unlike the other zones, as soon as we get into zone number 4, duos want to be towards the outside rather than being more towards the center. That's because the 5th zone, the half in, half out, is not completely inside the safe zone. It will be overlapping towards the outside. That kind of transitions us into the mid, into the late game, as Clix and Day are looking to transition themselves in the late game with a knock right there. Owl's going to end up getting cleaned up. There's another duo right on top of it, so no loot for them, but hey, 3 points, and they also get the +1 for being inside that top 35.
You can see that team positioning starting to update here because they needed these points. And look at that. That's actually their 2nd elimination. So another one just kind of tacked on to the situation here. So 6 points already earned in this game here. Big swing for them. They're just looking out, though. They're kind of gathering information here. The problem with this position is that you have all of these teams set up in these singled out bases, right? So the information gathered from the teams that are inside the zone, pretty clear. These cones being opened up now are clear indicators that there's launch pads in place. Looks like they're going to beeline on over to see if they can recycle one. Look at this, armored walls.
So
beautiful addition. Like one of the best additions to competitive, especially when it's used the way that it's being played right now to kind of mitigate the damage coming in here, to buy themselves some time. And there is drawback to these armored walls, right? You cannot edit out of these. You can get stuck real quick from a panic play.
And it's just fantastic being able to alleviate their pressure. And, well, yes, you're burning them through. They can reposition in that regard. And I will say a little bit of a min-max all the way down the bottom. You don't necessarily have to have the wood on it unless it's getting sprayed out right away. You can just slap down the iron right over the top of it, and it would have ended up being just as fine. But, I mean, we talked about how ammo comes at a premium, and unless you're necessarily Tubbs and Mega who got gifted, oh my... He gifted 3 headshots right there, but was gifted basically 2 duos worth of loot directly on top of him. You don't necessarily have 300 or 500 plus medium and light bullets. And look at, they're still just swapping. This is nuts, man.
There's tons of metal. Look, they're just living on this metal here, living rent-free essentially inside the box, and they do get zoned. The best zones for Mega and Dub so far. They are at the top right now. This is their game. If they don't finish up at the very pinnacle of this leaderboard here by the time this is all over, I'm going to be pretty upset. Larson and Smythe, though, are in a battle with the Storm Surge right now. They are 100 damage below here. They are going to have to fight popping these minis right now. They're hoping that this rotation is going to start forcing players out, but they don't have a lot of time to just sit here, right? 15 seconds till the next zone starts to move the players out, force the players out is a little too long. They don't have the heals to sustain this. They need to be a little bit more proactive, and no one's moving because they don't have to yet. And their passiveness is going to be the reason they get melted out the lobby. At least Larson is right now.
Yeah, Larson taking directly over, and don't forget, Storm Surge does not put you down but not out. You're just straight out, and they say, well, saying goes, it's not too late, it's never too late. Well, it was definitely too late right there. You have to go, but speaking of somebody who has to go, as that other duo ends up being eliminated, the only duo who's underneath Storm Surge pressure, Dubs and Mega, and while they have a ton of utility, you don't necessarily want to be forced to burn through it right now. This is the one circumstance where you can kind of just afford to wait it out, as because everyone is now being forced to move, and boom, it turns off, but they take so much damage, and now they're forced off of that. And a great metal wall being thrown up immediately in the face. The iron wall going to create a little bit of distance, but you talked about potentially being disappointed. Dubs, you're in the fire, and we're not just talking metaphorically, literally. Takes 2 different fire ticks that a chug splash is going to be able to put it out. Still disengaging down on a Mega. And
oh my god.
little bit of room.
Now listen, guys, you can actually put the flame out with the chug splash. That couldn't have went better. It keeps him alive, but the vehicle explodes. Another vehicle explodes right then and there. The fires are set up ablaze again, and out they go. Unfortunate, as we saw one of the coolest plays, almost another only in Fortnite moment, but no, it doesn't get completed. They get blown up instead. Oh man, I was rooting for Mega and Dubs. They had the best spot, Sundown, and now they're gone.
It seems like they were just a little bit non-committal, right? It was like, oh, we need to spray a little bit here, or they could have just sat and waited it out, right? Like, players were dropping. That fifth zone was closing. They had so much utility. We talked about it non-stop for like 3 minutes there, right? They could have just waited it out, but now next storm surge warning happening on the right-hand side. We will be into the full moving as we're on board here. Tahi and Edgy, no eliminations yet, 181 below, but as we're moving back over to the west, there's tons of old builds here for a little bit, and then a bunch of open space with a slight vertical grade. So some launch pads coming out, as well as the Spider-Man Mythic Gauntlets. Tahi looking for a little bit of space here, but immediately gets cut off. You can see the spray coming down. Some good pathing though from Edgy, finding the line here and trying to get on the back of this duo, and that's just going to be free pickings for them. One goes down. They should be able to get all of his mats and then be able to find the second and just continue pushing forward. However, they're still under storm surge. Oh no, they've just barely ticked the buff.
This is a really, really positive position to be in for Tahi and Edgy, who came just short of where they needed to be in that last game. They made endgame, but they fell a little bit early, as one of the two were kind of out of the competition to support one another. But Illis and Jack, this is a team that is on fire right now, man. Seeing Illis at the top of his game here, this lobby is honestly equivalent to what could be a finals-style lobby. Like, the level of player that we have in this competition right now is immaculate. On high ground, Bucky and Cam, it seems like this is their style, this is their game, this might just be their season. High ground retakes, playing the dominant position here, right? Just like straight alpha status. And you can see this is another game now coming into endgame where they have height here. This time, they have the ammo, they have the firepower, the pressure's coming in. Can they get the back-to-back here?
Right now, Edgy just getting shots rained down on him with only 32 HP. He has plenty of shields, but what he needs is space and time to be able to pop them. No white HP, so it can only take 2 more storm ticks there. So you can see Earth was able to pick up yet another one in some very good spots, but all it takes is somebody to press forward. As we see, Bucky and Cam up on the high ground, just raining shots down, and he still has a solid amount of brick monster. They could run this out.
This is definitely a game they can take to the very end here. Just look at the ammunition as well. They have everything that they need, but not only that,
5 gauntlets each.
Game already, 5 eliminations inside the situation here, and they still have so much more to work with. This is so perfect for them.
You can see Booga and Miro getting some elims on the low ground. They also both have 5 charges of those mythic web slingers, so if anything does happen, they'll be able to make a play together, which is huge in duos here, as now we're starting to get some more solo riders here. Illis being one of them on 3 eliminations, doing his best to try and put just a couple wood walls there, but he says nope, down a level, going to utilize what is honestly probably one of my favorite competitive additions, the med mist, going to use it the backside of the zone, just trying to change position a little bit, knowing he's able to offset about 50% of that storm damage and then rotate around the outside. He's going to be able to find a little bit of a gap, but with only one more build, he picks the wrong layer, will end up going down and changing again, but doesn't have the aim to be able to take that one down, doesn't have the HP to trade it over, and we're going to swing back over to the low ground. Acorn counted a 7 eliminations right now, Monster.
This is huge. A lot of points and more to be made here as they find a nice little angle there. Acorn is the king of these kind of situations. This is another team, another player that can definitely play these low grounds well. But Kanata, this is where you want him in these box fight type situations. He thrives in endgame clutches. And look at this. They got the player behind the wall. Of course, Kanata's going to wait for it, but someone was just a little bit faster. Who was that? A new player has entered into the scene here, and Kanata gets taken out. It's up to Acorn, who is now left by himself. The pressure overwhelming. The situation at hand is dire here, as he only has 34 HP, and this opponent is just relentless here, jumping into the box. Clock is ticking now, Sundown. Acorn is starting to run out of builds here. Just 28 left, a little bit less, and the high ground pressure comes in. Sniped from up above, Bucky and Cam find themselves another elim here. That's going to bring them on up to 8 now, as there are only 2 other duos remaining before Cam and Bucky can pick up the back-to-back here.
Danny Yamso riding it out into third, but it's just a solo, and that solo is so depleted. They fought through 3 other solos, but now Cam and Bucky. But as I say that, Bucky actually gets back down, and Cam's going to drop down. Look for the 7th Elam we talk about. Piece control. He just boxed like 3 different grid spaces by himself in the blink of an eye, and he's going to be able to pick that one up for yet another victory royale. Bucky and Cam, that's just brilliant coming out there. I mean, Monster, they're on track already. Even after 2 games, hey, you got to feel good about placing them in that top 8 as long as one more thing doesn't go wonky as we take a look at some of the highlights.
At this point, it's like we handed them a blank check at game 1, and they just wrote, send me to finals. Right on top of it. Take a look at Cam here. Patient, clean, methodical. He just boxes up Commandment, waits for him, and you can see that he was not going to miss that shot as he lined it up perfectly. He just let him come on in, and that was a 10 Elam Victory Royale. Back-to-back for Bucky and Cam. What a game there. Big game for them.
Back-to-back to start it off, and I mean, with first and second game down, 2 victory royales going for the tiebreakers, a bunch of eliminations, you have to feel good. You have to feel like they've got the momentum rolling. Just a couple placement points, a couple eliminations, and as you say, they booked a ticket to the finals.
Oh yeah, they're right there. They're just now starting to kind of bend the final stretch here. But that was just game 2, guys. Let's send on over to Adam Savage. We need an update on the standings. Give it to us.
Oh my gosh, back-to-back victory royales, 10 eliminations. Cam and Bucky raining down round after round from the high ground. I mean, what an unbelievable start for these guys. Already 2 games in, and they are flying high, Vivid.
Yeah, absolutely well played both of these times, finding themselves on the high ground. I think the difference there is that they held high ground this game too for a very long time. Interesting enough, I think we're going to have a big battle on the high ground between Stretch and Commandment and Bucky and Cam, because as we saw in the first game, they were fighting for it. But that game, no contestation on the high ground there, and they just rode the wave.
Yeah, just walking that one out. That's like the picture perfect way to play high ground. We saw him do it, spray down, and then you just kick back, throw your feet up, you're like, all right, yeah, I'll take this free win.
It's obviously high ground play such an important part, but to have it for that long a period of time as well shows a lot of progress as a duo as well to hold it. But they need to be challenged more, maybe. Our teams to step things up. But one thing we did see a lot was the armored wall meta as well. Obviously, this is being used a lot now. A great protection as well as disengaging. I mean, Vivid, this seems to be a really great thing to have in your arsenal at any time to pop out as and when you need to.
Yeah, it's extremely good. In this meta, right, we have the MK7 and the Stinger SMG, both very high fire rate weapons, so a lot of pressure gets put onto your walls, and when your regular walls in metal, brick, and wood aren't good enough, go ahead and place one of these nice armored walls down, and Dubs did a great job of disengaging using them in this clip here.
And it works so well. Like when you're getting sprayed at, we saw a team getting sprayed at. They placed down 2 armored walls, actually a third on their roof. One of them got broken. They're like, nah, I'm throwing another one down. Stop, I'm done.
Another one. Exactly. That's the great thing about them. They do give that protection. It's so important as well. I mean, obviously things are going to start to shift now, standings wise. The top spot though, I don't think is going anywhere. Let's have a look at the leaderboard right now. Are they still there? Of course they are. We can see ourselves here that things are starting to change up now. Vivid, walk us through how the standings currently look right now in NAE.
Yeah, no surprise that they are taking a big lead here. Back-to-back victory royales, first 2 games, total of 16 eliminations. They are far ahead of the competition right now, as you can see, with second place with only 73 points. Nonetheless, though, Illis and Jack are having a great showing so far. 11 eliminations. Illis doing work in that category. Then we see Commandment, Stretch also doing pretty well. Only 6 eliminations, though. I said this last season, Stretch has not been too good at finding those eliminations, so if they can switch that around, they can find themselves a lot higher on the leaderboard.
And then we see Nani and Pump right there in 4th, cold and scented. Nani and Pump are kind of the underdog. Haven't really talked about them much. A lot of the big names up at top. Nice to see some unrecognized players there.
Yeah. It's always good to see, like we talked about this before, rising stars. We want to celebrate those rising stars. The veteran players we love to see, but it's all about the new generation coming through as well, which is really, really exciting. Make sure to keep the conversation alive online. We're jumping into game number 3. The casters are ready to rock and roll. Sundown and Monster bringing us all the action. After this, we're halfway through today's qualifiers. Over to you guys. Let's do this thing.
Thank you so much, Adam, Vivid, and SBG. 2 matches down, a third of the way through as we begin the crest to the halfway point here. And Monster, one thing I noted, we're at 112 points for our current leaders, back-to-back wins. Looking over in Europe, 132 was the line, but enough from us. Let's get into match number 3.
Yeah, at this point, I mean, listen, it's just 20 points from hitting that EU cutoff. I'm sure they can hit it with a couple, again, just mediocre games at this point. 2 exceptional victory royales back-to-back. Bucky, no stranger to taking wins in final style settings, but man, to do that alongside new blood of Cam here is very, very cool to see. Back on over to the game, though. This is game number 3, ladies and gentlemen. You're tuning in. You're catching just about the midway mark. The stories that are going to be unfolding here are going to set the history for this first FNCS, kicking off the new chapter. Now, what's interesting about the kind of the standings there is that is a very close competition if you just exclude Bucky and Cam, right? Like everyone else has kind of had their moment so far, and it's around that 60 to 70 point threshold. So this is very much a competition for everyone else, and those top 8 spots are not solidified, or I should say the remaining 7 for the rest of the lobby so far.
Yeah, and if you are just joining us, welcome. We already covered the EU action earlier today. We're about halfway, closing in on the halfway mark here between NA East, and then we'll have NA West after this. My name's Sundown, joined by Monster D-Face here. We're hopping on board right now with Cold over by Sleepy Sound, looking to have a little bit of space here, and honestly, he's got a lot of space. It's all to himself.
A lot of space, great loadout already. This is the prime spot in position to be in. Now, what I like about the Sleepy Sound drop spot is that you are so close to that Daily Bugle, a highly contested drop. But hold up, DJ and Yamzo are under contestation again here, and Knifer and Blah walk away victorious as they manage to secure the llama again, and of course get the loot, the loadout, the guns that they needed to win this battle, and they just seem a little bit sharper. They're the sharpest tool in the box right now. And they're just winning, and they're making it look pretty easy, man. Look at this, 41 points. They're very much in this competition right now. What a day for Knifers.
I mean, all that glitters is gold, but continuing to take that 50-50 definitely proves that they're not necessarily the sharpest tools in the shed going on there, Monster. The song might go. I know, there's a long setup coming in there. I feel slightly bad about that, as we see a number of duos being dropped off. A little bit of a faster game here. So we actually have a replay of our current leaders picking up some elims here there. So swing on over. It's Bucky down by the Bugle, trying to find a little bit of space here. Already sitting on the 2 elims. Let's see how we got him.
Take a look here. Daily Bugle, Bucky, and Cam. They're contested. I saw there on the draw spot, Matt Mackwood. I was just going to say Mackwood is here as well. You can see he gets wrapped up and finished there. Mackwood taken out of the competition. Polarized dropped as well. And there's again, this is going to be a contested draw spot, I think, across all regions. There's just little to no reason to let any single individual duo have this drop for free, right? Like, there's plenty of loot here. Now, the type of duos that you come across is going to be what really kind of separates your game from the others. If you just have a team that's exceptional at fighting, it's going to be rougher and rougher. Jamper and Duke, though, finally put their first big points on the board here as they've been having a struggle of a day. But, oh no, the shots are coming in. The shields are cracked here. Jamper's on their Acorn up second. I think that puts them a point threshold away from second place now.
And Casker's still lurking nearby, but we're going to swing on over. Zyphon's Epoxy in a fight over at Rocky Reels. Directly on top of them is another duo, but Alige having a tough day of it today, going down again. Let's see if Sharkboy and Lava Girl are going to be able to win this fight out. Unfortunately, they have been unsuccessful so far, just like so many other reboots going on here. But right now, Zypha trying to find the shots, and he's going to be able to find those no problem. They clean those ones up. Honestly, it's pretty easy for him there.
Yeah, game one, Lava Girl and Sharkboy there did have some success. That was going to be their first set of points. Unfortunately, since then, game 2 and 3 definitely not going in their favor. Zypha and his duo, Epoxy, they're playing just a little bit better. Back on over to Kanata and Acorn, though. It seems like they might have found Casker, and they just added him to the death note there. And there it is. That's quick wraps as they find themselves another Elim. This is 4 eliminations already, and we're only in the first couple minutes, first couple moments of the zone here. Wow.
Yeah, nice little plus 12 going on from there as P-God ends up getting cleaned up from Bank. But let's take a look at what else is going on in the new flipped island here. Here's Elim number 3 coming out here. Kanata, as we flip back over. Again, you talked about it, 4 Elims between the pair. Acorn splitting with his own duo to play with the Kangarna member. And right now, they're doing pretty well. Honestly, 73 points like you talked about, right in touching distance of second place. I think he might have just flipped over as you talked about it. Yeah, that should be able to push him just in line with it now as we're going to swing back on over. We talked about how they were in such a power position in game number 2, had a great game 1, but now maybe the wheels have fallen off the bus a little bit here. As game number 3, they go down early and they're going to fall off the pace really hard.
And you could tell they were playing very aggressive there because they had the high ground mountain position, the upper portion of the mines. They played their way on down to Golden Seiko, who were just ready for the fight. That's going to be 2 Elims for them. And let's not forget, last game they fell way too early, right? They had the Elims. They did not get the placement points. And you can see how quickly that can drop you from your key positioning on the standings. Now with this game, not earning any points, this is going to be even more of a setback for them now. Again, all these teams that you're watching are not out of the competition. There's still 3 more games in front of us. So plenty of room here, but it's going to be, again, more and more tough. You need almost a perfect execution of the next several rounds if you want to make it to the finals.
Just swing on over to Milks Rhythm. Though, I do want to comment, man. Dropping a legendary Ranger feels so bad. I know people vastly prefer the MK7, the Mark 7, however you want to say it, compared to the Ranger, but the Ranger is really strong. The thing hits like a truck, and if you're already going to be carrying a Striker SMG with you, and you don't necessarily have the most medium ammo, I would almost default it over. All it takes is if you're able to hit those like triple dink headshots like right off of the bat, or even just 1 or 2 headshots in a close range, the thing has a lot of stopping power. It'll make somebody box up real quick.
Yeah, and the body damage as well, right? You're talking just big damage, so when it comes down to long range tags and whatnot, I mean, can honestly be a much more effective usage of your ammunition. But either way, Rhythm's going to go ahead and opt into this FK7 alongside Milks. So far, so good as they play a very interesting wide strat here. This is going to force them into the zone for a little bit. Deciding to not burn through the web slingers, instead take their time here, play for their max material. They kind of have to play into this. Now, the way they survive this, guys, is if they understand the map here, they can find some campfires or something to play with, because otherwise they're going to be in the zone for quite some time. You can see that this team here is safe, and they're all the way east on the islands, and you don't see the storm's edge there, so this is a very far eastern zone. All those teams on the west sides are going to be in a pretty tough predicament.